Hi, Hope.
Hi, thank you
Hi.
so much. It's great to be here, Steve.
Thank you. And Brittany, nice to meet you for the first time.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Great. So I'm very excited to have this opportunity to speak to both of you. And I guess maybe we could just get started. If you could both just take a minute just to tell us what you've been doing for the last 15, 20 years and what you currently do, and just get us up to speed of who you are, what you're focused on. That would be great. You could start, Hope.
All right. Well, I have been vegan myself for 33 years now and been doing animal advocacy and vegan education for about that same amount of time, about 3 decades. I worked for national nonprofits for a good amount of that time. I've actually worked for In Defense of Animals, where Brittany is now, long ago. And I also worked with United Poultry Concerns. I have started my own organization. I'm now the executive director of Compassionate Living that just started last year. And very excited to work on the projects like the Humane Hoax, which my book is about, that we'll talk about, I'm sure, the Humane Hoax Project, and my podcast, Hope for the Animals podcast. So doing some exciting new things that have just started within the last couple of years.
So what is the website for people to find you after this lecture is over? How would they find you?
Sure. Compassionate-living.org is my organization. There's also humanehoax.org. That's the Humane Hoax Project.
Can we bring that up for a second, the compassionate one? Just say that one more time, the compassion.
Compassionate-living.org.
We could bring that up just so we could show everyone and she could point out where we should go. Okay, so where would someone go here to sign up and to get more information?
Well, you can go to our contact page, and that gets in touch with us. So yeah, and we're working on a pop-up that would come up to sign up on our e-news list. We don't quite have that yet. But you can always just contact me and I will put you on the e-news list.
Okay, great. And Brittany, the same thing. What have you been doing for the last 15 years? And can you bring us up to speed about yourself?
Sure. Well, I am much newer to the movement than Hope. I have been doing animal rights activism since mid-2015, but I have done lots of activism since then in a variety of ways. And so I feel like I've put in a lot of time and effort into the movement within that time. I was a teacher and I had the unique opportunity to be able to teach some activism and social justice type classes in a private program in Southern California before I relocated. I was a writing instructor, and I also, because it was a private program that catered to teachers' interests and passions, I was able to teach kids some activism and social justice, which was a great opportunity. Then in November of 2021, I relocated from the Los Angeles area to Tucson, Arizona. And at that time, I started working for In Defense of Animals. Before, I had just been doing activism with different groups and just as a volunteer thing. But then about a year and a half ago, started this paid position in the movement. And I founded Desert Oasis Turtle and Tortoise Sanctuary. It's a micro sanctuary here on my property for rescued turtles and tortoises. And then my book, Voices for Animal Liberation, it's an anthology that was published in March 2020. Prior to the publication of the book, I had been writing short pieces and had those published in different places, literary sites, and online journals. And so this is my first and only book so far. And yeah, I'm very happy to be here and happy to be connected with all these amazing speakers. So thanks again for having me.
Great. And Hope, did you already come out with the new book, or are you coming out with it? What's the status?
Right now it is available. It just came out late April. It's called The Humane Hoax. I see that someone in the chat asked for the name of the books, and mine is The Humane Hoax. And the subtitle is Essays Exposing the Myth of Happy Meat, humane dairy, and ethical eggs. And I'm right now in the midst of my book launch. So I'm doing appearances and podcasts and all kinds of things around the book. So yeah, it is out and available on Amazon, or you can get it directly from the publisher, Lantern Publishing and Media.
And what is the reason that you wrote another book? You had already written a book years ago. So why did you decide to write another book? What's different about this book than the first one?
Yeah, my first book was released actually 10 years ago. That book is called The Ultimate Betrayal: Is There Happy Meat? It was the very first book on the issue of humane washing, what I call the humane hoax. Some people call the humane myth. And, so what happened was, I've been doing this work a long time, and back, 30 years ago or so, in the 90s, early 2000s, you didn't see humane labels like you do now. You would see labels maybe like fresh or young on meat, but suddenly we started, and I believe that this is because the activists and vegans were starting to be successful. We were bringing to attention and bringing to light these horrible things and issues that were happening to animals in animal agriculture, environmental impact, other issues, and people were starting to really question the animal sector, right? The animal farming sector. We were making progress. And so that animal industry, they have very clever marketers, they have wonderful advertisers, and they started doing advertising and labeling that was meant to really appease and reassure consumers that things were improving, right? So we started seeing labels like cage-free and free range and certified humane, things like that. And I found that this was very interesting. I started looking into it. I felt that this was something that was going to continue and potentially be an issue, a problem for our goal of ending farmed animal suffering, that these labels could possibly lull people into believing that there was a kind way to commodify animals. And so I started researching for my first book. I actually went to these farms. I went to cage-free farms. I went to free-range egg facilities. I went to organic dairies. This is back, 15 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, when you could just walk right on to a farm and have a talk with the farmers and the workers. And I did that extensively. And what I found was very disturbing and very disheartening. And I found that these labels meant very little. They're unregulated. And the situation, it's farm by farm and situation by situation, but overall, it means very, very little. These labels, very, very little improvement, very, very little for the animals. And in some instances, it can be a wash. There's no difference, or it can be even worse. So I go into great detail about that in my first book. And since then, that was 10 years ago now, it's just grown. This labeling and marketing has just taken off. Now we're seeing it everywhere. You don't just see it at the health food store anymore. Now, you see cage-free eggs at your local coffee shop and in the grocery stores. So it has definitely grown. And I decided that because it wasn't only me speaking about it anymore, now there were numerous voices in the animal advocacy arena that were speaking about it. I decided to start compiling essays. And this is an anthology of 18 amazing authors, academics, animal activists, rescuers, and there's moving stories of individual animals that are actually the victims of the humane hoax. Some incredible information. There's a whole greenwashing section that talks about regenerative grazing and the grass-fed and free range and all of that. So I'm just really thrilled and excited that it has come out. I wrote the introduction and the conclusion and a chapter in the book, but there's some amazing contributors. Carol Adams wrote a chapter, Silesh Rao, Robert Carrillo, Christopher Sol Eubanks, Joanne Kong, Karen Davis, some real legends in our movement. So I'm very excited about it, and it's done really well. Just to wrap up, it was actually #1 on Amazon's new releases in the animal rights category for the first week it was out. So it's really resonating with people, which is fantastic. And I'm very excited.
Could we bring that book up on, you could bring it up on Amazon. Could we show everyone what that book looks like, just in case people are inclined to want to get more information about it. Where should we get the book if we want it? On Amazon or on your website? What's better for you?
Well, I would encourage you to buy it directly from the publisher and support them, Lantern Publishing and Media. They're an all-vegan, amazing publishing house. So please support them if you can, or you can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, wherever you buy your books.
Okay, are we able to pull that up now, or if not, we'll come back to that. Guess we'll come back to that. Okay, Brittany, why did you compile the book Voices for Animal Liberation, Inspirational Accounts by Animal Rights Activists? What made you decide to go forward with putting together a whole book? And what was that book about? And again, what made you decide to do it, and what was it about?
Yeah, thank you. So this is an anthology with 27 contributors plus myself. And as Hope mentioned about her anthology, I wrote the introduction and the closing. My story is in the book, and then I compiled all of the other stories and helped my contributors shape them and edited them. And I had submitted a book proposal to publishers, and this is published by Skyhorse Publishing, which is based in New York. And it's a mainstream publisher. One great thing about Skyhorse is that their distribution is through Simon & Schuster. So that is just a great thing to have for the book. It is available through Skyhorse Publishing on Amazon or anywhere else, where you buy books. You can check and see where it's available, just Googling the title. But yeah, the distribution has been good for the book in terms of various outlets. I put it together because I really felt strongly that there needed to be an anthology in the movement that focuses on activism and the different forms and styles of activism within our movement, because it's so diverse. There are vigils where activists bear witness to suffering animals. There are protests, there's direct action, there are so many forms of outreach and just a whole variety. And I felt like I wanted that to be represented in an anthology that would just cover the bases of the animal rights movement. And so I have some newer voices in the book and some established. I really wanted there to be a mix of longtime folks in the movement and then newer folks, so that there's just a nice variety represented and a nice sense of diversities. And there are 6 sections in the book, and it covers, like I said, different areas of activism. So the first section starts out with seasoned warriors inspiring and transforming. The last section of the book focuses on sanctuary and rescue, and there's everything in between. So it offers the words of both new and highly influential voices in the movement, with the intention of inspiring and educating those who are sparked by the vision of a more ethical world. And it touches on the environment and health, certainly. I mean, we know the benefits of veganism for the planet and our own health, but what it mainly focuses on is ethics for the animals and justice for the animals, and that's its primary focus. But of course, it's all related and it's all one big package. So when we are vegan, it impacts everything and everyone, and really it's just all connected. So yeah, the book was published in March 2020, and I feel grateful that I was able to secure a publisher for it. And the response has been really great. Unfortunately, the book was released right at the start of the pandemic. So it was released on March 3rd, and my book release party, which was a wonderful event in Santa Monica, California, was on March 7th. And the following week, everything shut down. So it was an interesting time to have a new book, especially because it's my first book. out in the world. I wasn't able to participate in, events and conferences and things. Everything was just stopped and canceled, postponed, and so forth. But anyway, the reception has been wonderful, and I feel grateful for all of the support. And I hope that everybody will check it out and take a look online. And yeah, just
Great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next question, but I just want to see, can you just flash up Hope's book so just people could see that one also? Is her brand new book that just came out last week.